Hi, my name is Rick Howell. I'm a TV guy, and this show is called Talk Back to Television. It's about the business of television, how we make the programs, how we distribute the programs, and mostly how we pay for the programs. Because if we can't pay for the shows, there's nothing to watch. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Rick Howell, and this is Talk Back to Television, and I'm here with Jamie Parker. Jamie, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, buddy. And what are you doing these days?
I'm doing mostly product strategy consulting. I do a lot of work around product innovation, so new emerging technologies like AI or XR, and helping companies figure out how to integrate those products into their product roadmaps, or those technologies rather, into their product roadmaps in a way that won't freak their users or audiences out.
All right. Now, last time we talked, I was wearing a different shirt, but
Yeah.
you'll notice now, it's my shirt is a little louder, but on the other hand, I'm pretty loud as it is. But okay, so
I
listen.
love it.
Last time we talked, we were going to talk about AI, but we got all tied up in our underwears talking about Apple's goggles.
Yeah.
But I want to assure our audience that there is no artificial intelligence in this broadcast.
That's right.
All of the intelligence is real, such that it is. Okay. Now, the interesting thing, and I need you to dig a little bit into this. AI feels like, the Terminator and the robots and all that such as that. But the fact of the matter is, we've been living with machine learning, which is the undercourt of the fancy name AI, for a long time. What's different now? There's just somebody attached a snazzy name to it?
I'd say the biggest thing that's different now is general public awareness.
Okay, so it's more of a marketing thing than a technology thing.
Yeah, I think it's just an awareness. It crossed the hype curve in a way where there was the right combination of kind of the technology, public awareness, and an interface on it that before ChatGPT, getting into and experiencing and playing with AI it was very difficult to do. You'd have to have access to some pretty complex software and systems. If you weren't in that world or working in that world, you wouldn't have any reason to do it.
But now didn't we actually use AI every time we fired up Google search?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so the machine learning, that's your algorithms that are going to try to drive your recommendation stuff. That stuff's been, AI, machine learning, to your point, has been around for years and years and years.
So what's different now?
Well, now it has that face. Now it has that persona. And now it's starting to, I think, move into the realm of what the general public would see as kind of Star Trek territory, right? Where you can speak to this thing and it seems to have some level of intelligence. I remember back in 2005, I was living in Amsterdam working for a game company, and we were playing with chatbots. By today's standards, they were very, basic. But even then, we were like, wow, am I talking to a human or not? So I think it's that mystique around it, right? That gets people excited and creeped out. I was at a conference in Ohio this week with a friend, and I showed him, there's a guy who made this interesting app. It's called Ask Annie on iOS. If you've not seen it, he literally put a AI character over the front of it's just chat GPT on the back end, but you talk to it with your voice, which is really where this is going to go really rapidly, I think, in the next couple of years. And my friends just couldn't. It creeped them out, but it also excited them. And I think that's the secret sauce that's going to propel this into the next phase, is that people who know nothing about the technology are suddenly interested and intrigued and excited about it.
Okay. Well, there's two business things there. One, I was knocking around in the interactive TV business in 2000 when we encountered the bubble, and the bubble popped. And by the way, I have a load of stock from an interactive TV company in the back of my truck. It's free if you'd like some. I get the sense that AI is going to generate an investment excitement on Wall Street and in Silicon Valley with the venture capital companies that may be real or it may be fake, but it's got to be a lot of new money coming in, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. I think the money's been there and it's been coming in, but again, once you now can find the the general public and interest and excitement in the product use cases and applications that everyday people can get excited about, that's when it's really, and that's what we're seeing now. Now we're seeing the wave where literally every consumer product out there that is starting to try to find ways to fit the technology into their roadmaps, because it's something new for people to get into and get excited about. So from now on, that's what we're going to start seeing. If there's a way to integrate AI into your product or technology, they're going to do it. Like, it's just, that's it.
And on the
We're off to the
investment side, when it becomes the popular, easily described thing, all of a sudden, all the folks on Wall Street said, okay, I get that. Where's the next opportunity? Where they had looked at machine learning and said, meh, it sounds like something you did with an old Ford V8 engine.
Right, exactly. I worked with IBM back when I was at Viacom, 2000, I would say 16, 17-ish, was working with IBM Watson's research team on recommendations in media and entertainment applications. And I always thought that the term they tried to wrap around it was really, really interesting, where they wanted to, talk about it as artificial assisted intelligence is what they like to brand it at, because that's the rubber we are now, is we're in that point where everybody's freaking out. I mean, the writer's strike and everything like that, everybody's freaking out, that rightfully so on a lot of levels, that this technology is going to take my job, right? This technology is going to replace humans. And that's the fear. We're hitting that uncanny valley where it's like, this thing, oh my God, it's creepy. Is this going to replace me or wipe me out? We get all of that, and IBM rightfully so. I think early on, they've moved on to quantum now. I think they've kind of realized that quantum computing is where they're going to be able to really, get back in the lead. But it's more about, if you look at the tech now, it's more about how does it assist you in your day-to-day jobs, because it still needs a human to drive it, so to speak, right? At least now. Who knows what it'll be like in 20 years? But now it's really meant to be a tool to help you do your job better, faster, more efficiently.
So if you look at the writer's strike, and I saw the Directors Guild just settled, and that's probably a good sign, frankly, for the business.
It was expected.
But the writer's strike, they've got a rights thing. They weren't getting paid for streaming. All the rules were written about the old-fashioned syndication world. That part's easy to straighten out, frankly. Just
very.
How many pennies go to which guy when, right? It's almost like an old ASCAP calculation.
Yeah.
But the AI portion of that, you're right that it freaks people out. Are the writers, and you are a writer as well, are they right to be freaked out by that?
I think so. I am a member of the Writers Guild, and I think because I have interacted and used and been working in the technology space for so many long, I'm less afraid of it, less worried about it. But yeah, I mean, I think the fact of the matter is it will replace jobs. I think we're kidding ourselves to think that it won't, the same way that the assembly line replaced jobs, the same way that the telephone replaced jobs. We don't have people plugging in, routing our phone calls anymore. That's just the natural progression of technology. So yes, the easy but not easy answer is yes, they have a reason to be afraid. I think what the Guild is doing,
but it could also create new jobs in the same mode, right?
Exactly. And I think that's the key, is that writers, especially lower level writers, I think if you're, look, getting into the Guild, becoming a paid screenwriter, I think John August on his podcast, who's a pretty well-known writer, he said, I think we have a better chance of becoming a professional NFL football player than being a paid screenwriter.
Wow.
The number of jobs is already really few, and you got a lot of people who want to try to get in. So if you're a lower level writer and you want to rise above, I think your best bet is learn the tech, get in there and figure out how to.
You know what? That really makes sense to me.
Yeah. Okay. And the ones that fight against it, I think, are the ones that are going to have a hard time. The technology's here; it's not going away. So don't fight it, embrace it, and figure out how to use it to your advantage.
Maybe even, and I think we sort of mentioned this before, that you could, as an experienced writer, use artificial intelligence to create 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different versions of a scene, and use your skills to add the inflections, pick the best version of that, and maybe actually help you churn out not necessarily better scripts, but more.
Exactly. And that's what I've been trying to do in my workflow, is trying to figure out how to use it to accelerate but look, the business, I'm not, back then, 2012, or I'm sorry,
Back
2016,
then in
17, back
2012.
then, it was 2016, 2017 when these large language models were first starting to emerge. I remember at that point with IBM, we were just, starting on that track. The business wants to find a way to, their job is to reduce the amount of money I've got to spend on content. The CEO of Viacom at the time was asking me, how do I get it to write scripts back in 2016? It's on their radar. I don't think it's there. You can't remove the human element from it, but the business, as businesses should, from a business perspective, are going to try to find a way to exploit the technology. So I think this is the right time for the Guild to be fighting this battle, because we know what's going to come in the next wave.
So they need to set the rules and lock it down.
Exactly.
How long will the writer's contract last? Based on your knowledge, is this a 5-year deal, a 4-year deal, a 10-year deal?
3-year. It's a 3-year contract.
3 years.
It's only 3 years. Yeah.
Dear God,
Every 3
that's
years.
tomorrow, dude.
Yeah, I know. Every 3 years, the NBA comes up for the minimum basic agreement is what it's called, comes up for negotiation. Usually, it's there's some puffing of chests and some rattling of swords every 3 years, but
Yep.
as we haven't had a strike since 2017-18. So hopefully we'll get the big points knocked out this time, but we won't have to do this again for a while.
Well, see, now
We'll see what the actors do. I think SAG is also afraid of AIs. They're not afraid. I want to use that word, but SAG is also paying attention to AI, because they have to worry about digital characters, and it's real. I think it's honestly more real for actors right now than it is for writers. And so we'll see what SAG does. I personally think SAG is very likely to strike. So we could be in a position really soon where both actors and writers are on strike.
Well, on the other hand, you could be Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones movie that's coming up this week as we're recording this, last week when this airs. And, they de-aged him.
Yep.
I happen to be a Harrison Ford fan. I like old guys.
I do too. Me too. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Jamie Parker, thank you for your time, bud. I really appreciate it. And I think that's pretty damn good advice to the new writers and the experienced writers. Don't run from this. Embrace it. Get it figured out. 100%. And if that generates some work for people who are consultants in the business, why not? All right.
For sure.
I am going to add one thing. My friends at USA Today have asked me to add little tidbits now and again to our shows. And this one comes from, I'm going to try to point to them, but they're down here, my sponsor, Hub Entertainment Research. This is sort of interesting. You tend to think that consumers in the streaming business are dropping services and slowing down subscriptions and putting that pressure on because of cost. The interesting thing is, at the same level, 82%, according to Hub, of the people are claiming cost is the reason they make their decisions. That same number, 82% of people say, I don't care how much it costs. I can't manage all these damn services. There's just too much for me, which is the old, problem. You spend 20 minutes looking for something to watch on TV that takes a half hour, right? We're actually in that mode again. So, all right, Jamie Parker, thank you much, buddy. I really appreciate it. And we'll see everybody on the next Talk Back to Television. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, that's it.